Cole Hartley had spent many years riding from one place to another across the wide lands of the West. He was known as a quiet cowboy, someone who did his work with calm hands and a steady mind. People often wondered why he never stayed anywhere for long, but Cole himself never had a clear answer. It simply felt natural to keep moving. The open sky, the long roads, and the sound of horse hooves had become his world. Still, even a wanderer carries memories, and sometimes those memories call a person back. That was what happened to Cole one warm afternoon, when he found himself reaching the edge of the desert land where he had spent his childhood. He had not planned to return. In fact, he had spent years thinking he would never see this place again. Yet here he was, traveling down the familiar pathway that led to the small frontier town where he once lived with his family. Cole slowed his horse and looked at the distant hills. He remembered riding along them as a small boy, laughing and racing the wind. Those were the days when everything felt simple. His family's ranch had sat near a line of cottonwood trees, and he remembered playing under their shade. He also remembered the friendly faces from the nearby Apache tribe, who sometimes visited the ranch to trade and share greetings. Back then, all he knew was friendship and peace. But time had changed everything. When he was young, a powerful storm destroyed much of the ranch. His family moved away, and little Cole was forced to leave behind the land he loved. He never got to say goodbye to the people he knew. He carried the sadness silently as he grew older. Now, as he rode into the town once again, he felt both excitement and uncertainty. The place looked different. New buildings stood where empty land had once been. A larger trading post had replaced the small wooden store he remembered. A new group of travelers filled the dusty streets, coming for supplies, work, or rest. Yet beneath all the changes, Cole could still sense the heart of the land he once knew. Some of the older people in town looked at him with curiosity when he passed by. A cowboy returning to a place he left long ago naturally drew attention, especially in a town where news traveled fast. Cole tied his horse near the well and walked slowly through the marketplace. He wanted to get a feel of the town before deciding what to do next. He noticed a group of children laughing near the water trough, playing games with smooth stones. Cole smiled to himself. It reminded him of how he used to play near the river with someone special, someone he could barely remember. He tried to recall her face, her voice, her name, but the memories were soft and blurry, like colors fading in the sun. All he remembered clearly was that she had been kind, brave, and completely unforgettable to him as a child. Yet somehow, time had pushed her image deep into his mind. Cole walked to the edge of the town where the open desert began. He stood there for a long moment, letting the wind brush against his face. Something inside him felt drawn toward the canyon trails beyond the hills. It was the same place he used to explore when he was young. The thought of going there brought back a strange, warm feeling, as if a part of him was still waiting in those canyons. He decided to visit the trading post first. Inside, he found an old shopkeeper who remembered many travelers over the years. When Cole stepped up to the counter, the shopkeeper studied him for a moment and nodded politely. "You're not from around here now, but you've been here before, haven't you?" the shopkeeper asked. Cole gave a small smile. "A long time ago. I used to live not far from here." "Ah," the shopkeeper said. "Then you'll see a lot of changes. New settlers arrived the past few years, and the Apache folks still live near the canyon area, though things are not as peaceful between everyone as they used to be." Cole listened carefully. "Is there trouble?" "Not real trouble," the shopkeeper replied. "Just misunderstandings. People don't always take the time to talk things out." Cole nodded, feeling a soft ache in his chest. He remembered how friendly the Apache tribe had been when he was a child. He remembered sharing food, stories, and laughter. To hear that the connection between settlers and the Apache people had weakened made him sad. After buying a few supplies, Cole stepped outside again. He looked toward the distant canyon, and something in him felt sure he needed to go there. He did not know why he felt this urge, but it was strong, almost like the voice of a memory calling him. He mounted his horse and began riding slowly toward the hills. The path felt familiar under his horse's hooves. The sunlight painted warm gold across the rocks and sand. The air carried the scent of sage and dry earth, just the way he remembered it. As he rode deeper into the land, more memories began to awaken. He remembered climbing the ridge as a boy, trying to see how far he could see. He remembered the sound of laughter echoing between the canyon walls, his own and someone else's. That someone else had been very important to him once, though he could not understand why he struggled to remember her clearly. When he reached the base of the canyon, Cole stopped. The tall rock walls rose before him, glowing in the afternoon light. This was the place where he had spent some of the happiest days of his childhood. He got off his horse and walked a few steps forward. The wind shifted, carrying a faint sound, something like soft footsteps. Cole turned slowly, not alarmed, just curious. The canyon was usually quiet, except for wind and birds. The footsteps came again, gentle and steady. Then he saw her. A young Apache woman stood a short distance away, watching him with calm eyes. She looked surprised, as if she had seen a ghost from the past. Her long, dark hair flowed with the breeze, and a quiet strength showed in the way she carried herself. She did not seem afraid of him at all. Cole felt a strange recognition, something deep inside him stirring. He didn't know her name, but he felt he should. The woman stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. Her voice was gentle, but full of emotion when she finally spoke. "Cowboy, don't you remember me?" Cole felt his heart skip a beat. The way she spoke, the look she gave him, it all felt familiar. She smiled softly and added, "I'm your childhood love." The words struck him like a memory bursting open. Pictures flashed through his mind, two children racing along the river, sharing stories, laughing beneath the cottonwood trees. All those memories he thought were gone came rushing back, and the girl in those memories was standing right in front of him. Cole stared at her in awe, realizing that he had not simply returned to an old town. He had returned to a piece of his past he never expected to find again. Cole stood completely still as the young Apache woman walked toward him. The wind moved softly around them, carrying the warm scent of desert plants and distant river water. He felt as if time had paused, leaving only the two of them in that quiet moment inside the canyon. Her eyes were gentle but full of emotion, as if she had been waiting for this day for a very long time. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came at first. He simply stared, trying to connect the woman before him with the faint memories from his childhood. She had changed, of course. Years had passed since he last saw her. She was taller now, with strong features and a natural confidence in the way she carried herself. But there was still something familiar, something in her eyes, in the way she smiled at him. "Nayeli," he whispered without thinking, the name rising from deep inside his memory. Her face brightened with a soft happiness. "So you do remember," she said quietly. Not everything was lost. Cole felt a warm feeling spread through his chest. He stepped closer, looking at her as if seeing a dream from long ago come to life. "I remember the canyon," he said slowly. "I remember running along the river. And Nayeli laughed softly, the sound echoing gently against the rock walls. "I still remember those races. You always tried so hard to run faster than me." "You were faster," Cole said with an embarrassed smile. "You were kind," she replied. "And you always listened to my stories. That mattered more than winning." Cole felt his heart tighten at her words. He had forgotten so many things as he grew up, traveling from one place to another. But seeing Nayeli now made him realize that those childhood moments had never fully left him. They had just been buried under the years. He looked around the canyon. "I didn't think I'd ever come back here," he said softly. "I thought everything from my childhood was gone." Nayeli shook her head gently. "Memories never disappear," she said. "They wait. Sometimes they wait for a person to return." Cole took a deep breath and looked at her again. How did you recognize me so quickly?" "I changed a lot." Nayeli smiled in a quiet, peaceful way. "Some faces don't leave your heart," she said, "even when many years pass." Her words made Cole's chest tighten again, not painfully, but with a warm, surprising feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Nayeli motioned with her hand, inviting him to follow her. "Come," she said. "Walk with me. There is much you have missed." Cole nodded. And together they began walking deeper into the canyon, where the sunlight glowed on the red stones. Their footsteps moved in rhythm, just as they had when they were children. It felt strange but natural at the same time, as if no time had passed at all. As they walked, Cole noticed how Nayeli seemed completely at ease in the land around her. She stepped over stones with grace, touched the tall grasses gently, and paused to listen to the faint sounds of birds hidden in the rocks. She moved with the land, not against it, as if the canyon was a part of her. "You always knew this place better than I did," Cole said with a small smile. "That is because this is my home," she replied. "I grew up learning every path, every sound, every color of the land." Cole nodded. "I remember your father teaching us how to read the clouds to tell when rain was coming." Nayeli smiled. "You always tried so hard to understand. You watched the sky for so long that one day you almost walked into a cactus." Cole laughed, shaking his head. "I think I remember that. You blamed the cactus at the time," she added gently. Cole laughed again, enjoying the way she remembered even the small things. They reached a small river running through the canyon. The sunlight sparkled on the water, creating bright patterns on the rocks. Cole stopped and stared. "I remember this place," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "We used to play here." Nayeli nodded. "You built small boats from pieces of wood. You wanted them to float all the way to the mountains. And you told me the river already knew where it was going," Cole added with a smile. "You didn't believe me then," Nayeli said, her eyes shining with amusement. "I believe you now," he replied quietly. Nayeli knelt beside the river and dipped her hand into the cool water. Cole watched her for a moment, noticing the calm expression on her face, the peace that surrounded her. She had grown into someone strong, someone wise, someone who carried the beauty of her land in her actions. After a moment, she looked up at him. "Why did you come back, Cole?" she asked gently. Cole hesitated. "I don't know," he admitted. "I didn't plan it. I was traveling, and something just pulled me here. I couldn't explain it." Nayeli stood and walked over to him. "Sometimes the heart remembers paths before the mind does," she said softly. "You were meant to return." Cole met her eyes. "Did you wait for me?" he asked quietly, unsure if he wanted the answer to be yes or no. Nayeli didn't look away. "For a long time," she said with honesty. "I used to sit under the old cottonwood tree and wonder if you were looking at the same sky. I hoped you would come back someday. But seasons changed, and I learned that life moves forward, even when people don't return." Cole felt a mix of emotions, regret, gratitude, and something deeper he couldn't name. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I never meant to disappear." "You were a child," she said, "and life took you where it needed to. I never blamed you." They continued walking along the river. The soft sound of flowing water filled the space between them, making their silence feel comfortable rather than awkward. Nayeli picked up a small stone and handed it to Cole. "Do you remember these?" she asked. Cole turned the stone in his hand. It was smooth and flat, perfect for skipping across the water. "We used to see who could make the most skips," he recalled. "You always tried to skip it far," she said. "I always tried to make it skip many times. And you usually won," he replied with a smile. Nayeli pointed at the water. "Try now." Cole threw the stone gently, and it skipped twice before sinking. Nayeli clapped softly. "Still good," she said. Cole smiled. "Your turn." She took a stone and flicked it across the water. It skipped 4 times before sinking. Cole laughed and shook his head. "Some things never change," Nayeli smiled. "Not everything needs to." They sat on a large rock and watched the river for a while. Cole felt peaceful in a way he hadn't felt in years. Being near Nayeli made the world feel steady again. After a few minutes, Nayeli spoke softly. "I want to show you something. Follow me." She led him up a small path that curved between tall rocks. They reached a ridge where the entire canyon stretched before them. The view was stunning, the river winding like a silver ribbon, the golden rocks glowing under the sun, and the sky endless and blue. Cole let out a slow breath. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Nayeli nodded. "This was our secret place as children. You used to come here when you felt sad or confused." Cole looked at her in surprise. "How do you remember all of this?" "Because those days mattered," she said simply. Cole felt something shift inside him, a gentle recognition, a feeling of coming home. He looked at Nayeli, and she looked back at him, her eyes warm and full of unspoken memories. She stepped closer and said softly, "I knew you would return, Cole. I didn't know when, but I believed it." He swallowed, unsure of what to say. "I'm glad I did," he replied finally. They stood together on the ridge, watching the land that had shaped their childhood hearts. For the first time in many years, Cole felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be, and deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning of what was yet to come. Cole and Nayeli stood together on the high ridge until the warm light of the sun softened into a gentle glow. It felt peaceful being there, as if the land itself welcomed Cole back after so many years. When they finally climbed down from the ridge, their steps were slow and unhurried. Neither of them wanted the moment to end too soon. As they walked beside the river again, Cole kept glancing at Nayeli. There was something calming about her presence. She moved with such grace, as if she understood every piece of the land around her. He found himself wanting to learn more about her. Not just the memories of her from childhood, but the person she had become now. "I still can't believe it's really you," Cole said softly. Nayeli smiled. "I wondered if you would remember me at all." "I remembered pieces," Cole admitted. "Your laughter. The way you ran faster than I could. The stories you told. But I didn't know if I imagined some of it." "Memories can get quiet," Nayeli replied gently. "But they never disappear." They walked until they reached a cottonwood tree that stood tall near the riverbank. Its branches spread wide like open arms. Cole paused under its shade. He remembered this tree clearly, now the long afternoons they spent talking beneath it. The way the leaves rustled like whispers in the wind. "I used to climb this tree," Cole said. "And you always got stuck halfway," Nayeli added with a playful grin. Cole laughed and touched the rough bark. "I guess I wasn't much of a climber." "You were brave in other ways," she said. "When I was afraid of the dark cave near the ridge, you held my hand and walked inside with me." Cole blinked, and then slowly nodded as the memory returned. He remembered the cave cool, quiet, and filled with tiny sparkling stones. "I forgot about that," he whispered. "I didn't," Nayeli said gently. There was something in her voice, a quiet emotion that made Cole look at her more closely. It wasn't sadness, but something deeper, something like longing. He wondered how many memories she had held onto while he traveled far from this land. They sat beneath the cottonwood tree, the shadows dancing around them as the breeze moved through the leaves. For a moment, they simply listened to the sounds of the desert, the soft rustle of grass, the distant call of a bird, the gentle flow of the river. Then Nayeli began to speak. "When you left," she said softly, "I didn't understand why. You were here one day and gone the next." Cole felt a slow ache in his chest. "My family had to move after the storm destroyed the ranch," he explained. "We didn't have a choice. Everything changed so quickly. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to anyone." "I know that now," Nayeli said. "But back then, I thought maybe I had done something wrong." Cole shook his head immediately. "No. Never. You were my best friend. Losing this place, and losing you, it was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through." Nayeli looked down at her hands. "For a long time, I waited at this tree. I thought maybe you'd come back, even if just for a day. But seasons come and go, and I learned to stop expecting it." Cole looked at the river, feeling a mix of regret and sadness. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't know." "You were only a child," she replied. "You couldn't have known what to do." And I wasn't angry. I was only sad. Cole turned toward her. If I could go back and change it, I would. Nayeli smiled softly. But you are here now. That is what matters. For a moment they simply looked at each other, letting the past and present blend together like colors in the sunset. Then Nayeli stood, brushing off the dust from her dress. There is more I want to show you, she said. They walked along a winding path that led to a wide-open field of tall, golden grasses. The wind made the grass sway like waves on water. Cole felt a peaceful silence fill his heart. This place hasn't changed at all, he said quietly. No, Nayeli agreed. The land remembers everything. Cole watched as a small herd of deer grazed near a line of trees. They lifted their heads gently, glanced at Cole and Nayeli, then continued eating without fear. They're calm, Cole said softly. They know we mean no harm, Nayeli replied. Animals sense hearts more than footsteps. Her words made Cole think. She seemed to understand the world in ways he had never imagined. He admired that about her. As they walked through the field, Nayeli spoke again. There have been many changes in our tribe too. New children have grown up. Some families have moved to areas with more water. My father still leads the people, but things are more complicated now. Cole listened carefully. Complicated how? Nayeli looked at the horizon thoughtfully. More settlers have arrived near our lands. Most of them mean well. They build homes, raise animals, trade with our people. But sometimes, misunderstandings happen. Words get lost. Feelings get hurt. And when people don't speak to each other, even small problems can grow. Cole nodded. That's what the shopkeeper in town mentioned. It is not a big problem yet, Nayeli said gently. But it could become one, if people stop trying to understand each other. Cole felt a quiet determination settle inside him. I don't want to see anyone hurt, he said. Nayeli looked at him with warmth. I remember that about you too. You always tried to help others. Even when you were young. Cole smiled gently. Maybe. But I feel like I could have done more. You were a child, she reminded him again. Now you are grown. You can do more if you choose to. As they continued walking, they reached a spot where the field dipped into a small valley. In the center of the valley was a circle of smooth stones arranged neatly. Cole recognized it instantly. This was our meeting place, he said with surprise. It still is, Nayeli replied. Sometimes I sit here and think. Cole walked to one of the stones and sat down. Nayeli joined him on another stone nearby. They sat quietly for a long time, letting the peace of the valley wrap around them. The sky slowly shifted toward evening colors, soft oranges and gentle pinks. Nayeli, Cole said suddenly, I feel like I'm remembering more of my childhood than I have in years. That is because you are home again, she said softly. He looked at her. Do you think I still belong here? She met his eyes, her expression honest and warm. That depends, she said gently. Do you want to belong here? Cole felt a deep question settle inside him. He had been a wanderer for so long. He had traveled across towns, plains, and open roads. He had met people, worked jobs, slept under countless night skies. But he had never felt rooted anywhere. Not truly. Yet here, with Nayeli beside him, everything felt different. The land felt like it recognized him. The memories felt alive. And his heart felt calm, for the first time in years. I don't know yet, he said truthfully. But being here, with you, it feels right. Nayeli smiled softly. Then stay for a while. There is no need to decide everything today. You can learn the land again. You can learn your heart too. 10. Cole nodded slowly. I would like that. Nayeli stood and held out her hand. Come, let's walk before the sun sets. There is still one more place I want to take you. He took her hand, feeling the familiar warmth of her palm. They walked together toward the glowing horizon. The land stretched out before them, endless and welcoming. Cole felt something new inside him, something gentle, steady, and full of hope. Being with Nayeli again felt like the beginning of a new chapter, one he didn't even know he needed, until now. And as they walked into the soft evening light, He knew that this reconnecting journey with Nayeli had only just begun. The next morning, Cole woke up to the soft light of dawn spreading across the desert sky. The air was cool and fresh, and the world felt peaceful in a way he hadn't experienced in a long time. He stretched his arms, took a deep breath, and realized how different his heart felt now compared to when he first arrived. It felt lighter, as if meeting Nayeli had opened a door inside him that had been closed for years. He saddled his horse and rode toward the trading post to buy supplies. As he entered the little town, he noticed people whispering softly and giving him curious glances. News spread quickly in small towns, and it was clear that something unusual had happened overnight. Cole stepped inside the trading post, where the shopkeeper gave him a friendly nod. "Morning, son," the old man said. "You came at the right time. Folks around here are uneasy today." "What happened?" Cole asked gently. The shopkeeper sighed. "Some settlers woke up and realized a few cattle wandered off during the night. Now they're saying maybe the Apache people had something to do with it." Cole frowned slightly, not angry, just puzzled. "Did they see anything?" "No," the shopkeeper said. "They just assumed because they saw footprints near the fence. But footprints don't always tell the whole story." Cole nodded slowly. He had been around animals all his life. Cattle wandering off wasn't unusual at all. Many things could scare or move them: wind, shadows, noises, or even wild horses running nearby. "Has anyone talked to the Apache?" Cole asked. "Not yet," the shopkeeper replied. "People are nervous, but I hope things stay calm. Nobody wants misunderstandings." Cole thanked him and stepped outside. He looked toward the canyon where Nayeli lived. His heart felt uneasy. He knew her people didn't deserve blame for something they didn't even know about. And he knew Nayeli, she cared deeply about peace. He decided to ride out and look around the ranch area himself. The land near the ranch stretched wide and open. Cole dismounted to inspect the fence line. Almost immediately, he noticed something the settlers hadn't paid attention to. A section of the wooden fence had collapsed, not broken by human hands, but pushed down by force. Cole crouched and studied the marks. On the ground were several hoofprints, but not from cattle. These were lighter, spread out, and moving fast, like animals running at high speed. Wild mustangs. A herd must have passed through the area during the night, startling the cattle and sending them running. Cole followed the tracks a little farther and found clear signs of movement: bent grass, scattered dust, and hoof marks heading toward the open plains. He stood for a moment, letting the information settle. It made perfect sense. The cattle weren't taken. They simply ran off. He mounted his horse again and followed the trail until he spotted several of the missing cattle grazing near a patch of shade. They were calm, their tails flicking lazily, unaware that people were worried about them. Cole guided them gently back toward the ranch. He didn't rush or shout. He moved with quiet confidence, and the animals followed without trouble. When he returned, a group of settlers had already gathered near the gate, talking in tense voices. When they saw Cole approach with the cattle, everyone fell silent. One of the settlers stepped forward. "Where'd you find them?" he asked. "Out near the plains," Cole answered simply. "A herd of mustangs passed through last night. They knocked down the fence, and the cattle wandered off. That's all." The men exchanged surprised looks. Some looked embarrassed, while others looked relieved. "So it wasn't the Apache?" one of them asked quietly. Cole shook his head. "No. They had nothing to do with it." A soft murmur spread through the group. A few men nodded slowly, realizing they had jumped to conclusions too quickly. Before any more could be said, Cole noticed a small dust cloud rising on the horizon. A moment later, Nayeli appeared, riding her horse with calm steadiness. Her presence brought quiet to the entire group. She rode up to Cole and dismounted gracefully. "I heard there was trouble," she said gently. "I wanted to make sure everyone is safe." Cole smiled softly. "Everything's fine," he assured her. "The cattle just wandered off." Nayeli looked at the settlers, her eyes calm and respectful. "We heard about the missing cattle," she said. "My people were concerned too. We want peace." The settlers looked at her with a mix of respect and guilt. One of the older settlers stepped forward and cleared his throat. We might have spoken too quickly, he said. We didn't mean harm. We were just worried. Nayeli smiled kindly. Worry is natural, she said. But talking to each other helps more than guessing. Her gentle words eased the tension. The settlers nodded, and a quiet understanding settled among them. Cole watched Nayeli with admiration. She handled the situation with calm wisdom, never raising her voice, never showing frustration. She simply stood there, peaceful and strong, letting her presence guide the moment toward harmony. After the settlers dispersed, Cole and Nayeli walked together toward the cottonwood trees. I'm glad you came, Cole said softly. I felt something wasn't right, Nayeli replied. And I wanted to make sure the misunderstanding didn't grow. Cole smiled. You always had a way of making people calm. Oh, Nayeli looked at him with warm eyes. You helped, too. You found the truth. Without that, people might still be worried. Cole shrugged lightly. I just followed the tracks. Anyone could have done it. No, Nayeli said firmly. Not everyone would take the time to understand. That is what makes you different. They walked along the riverbank, letting the calm sound of water guide their steps. The sun was beginning to lower in the sky, coating the land with a soft golden glow. Nayeli looked at Cole thoughtfully. You know, Cole, this land needs people who can build bridges. Bridges? He repeated. Yes, she said gently. Bridges between hearts. Between different people. People who listen. People who care. People who don't judge too quickly. Cole looked at the rippling water. I've spent so many years wandering. I never thought I could truly help anyone. Nayeli stepped closer. Sometimes people wander because they haven't found where they belong yet. Cole glanced at her, feeling something warm and deep inside him. And do you think I belong here? He asked. Nayeli didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the edge of the river and dipped her fingers into the water. The light made the surface sparkle around her hand. Finally, she looked up and said softly, I think your heart already knows the answer. You just have to listen. Cole felt her words settle inside him like a gentle truth. The land, the sky, the quiet confidence of Nayeli, it all felt like it was guiding him toward something important. They continued walking until they reached the old cottonwood tree. The shade beneath it was cool and comforting. They sat together, watching the evening colors paint the sky. Cole spoke quietly. Nayeli, I want to stay here a while. I want to understand this land again. I want to help where I can. Nayeli smiled softly, her eyes bright with warmth. Then stay, she said. There is room for you here. And there is much we can learn together. The breeze rustled the leaves above them, as if the land itself approved. Cole leaned back against the tree trunk. For the first time in many years, he felt grounded, steady, and connected. The misunderstandings of the morning had been settled. Peace had been restored, and a new sense of belonging had begun to form inside him. He turned to Nayeli and whispered, Thank you. For what? She asked gently. For reminding me what home feels like, he replied. The soft evening light wrapped around them as the sun dipped behind the hills, and Cole knew, deep in his heart, that this land and Nayeli's presence within it was slowly becoming more than just a memory. It was becoming a future. Cole stood quietly near the edge of the open field as the afternoon sun dropped lower in the sky, painting the world in soft gold. He felt a calm breeze move across the land, carrying the warm scent of dry grass and desert flowers. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he belonged somewhere. The weight he had been carrying inside his heart since his childhood seemed lighter. Even though the past few days had been stressful, something inside him was at peace. He knew why, because Nayeli had brought him back to the boy he once was. The settlers and the Apache people gathered slowly in the same field. They stood at a distance from one another at first, unsure and a little nervous. Cole understood that both sides wanted safety for their families, their homes, and their land. Misunderstandings had created fear, and fear often grew faster than truth. But today was different. Today he had clear proof and a clear voice, and Nayeli stood with him, giving him strength simply by being near. Nayeli glanced at Cole, her calm eyes filled with quiet support. Cole felt something warm rise inside him. It was courage, gentle but steady. He stepped forward while everyone watched him with curiosity, waiting to hear what he had to say. Cole explained everything in simple, honest words. He told them how he had followed the missing cattle tracks and learned the truth. He described the broken fence, the scattered hoofprints, and how the wild mustangs had run through the area. He showed them the small sketch he had drawn in the sand, outlining the path the mustangs took. Everyone listened carefully. For some, this was the first time they had heard both sides of a story in a fair way. When he finished speaking, the field grew quiet. Cole wasn't sure what would happen next. But then, an older settler, known for being cautious but also reasonable, stepped forward. He looked at Cole, then at the Apache elders, and said gently that mistakes had been made. He admitted that the settlers acted too quickly and thanked Cole for finding the truth before the misunderstanding became larger. A soft murmur spread through both groups, like a wave of relief. One of the Apache elders nodded respectfully, acknowledging the settler's words. He spoke calmly and said that the tribe held no anger for the mistake. They only wanted peace and fairness, just as they always had. His voice was steady and kind, and his words washed away the last bits of tension that had filled the air earlier. Nayeli stepped forward after the elders. She didn't speak with authority or commands. She simply shared her hope that both sides would remember the land belonged to everyone who treated it with respect. Her voice was gentle, but strong in its honesty. It reminded people of the bond they all had with the land, the sky, and the quiet evenings that came after every long day. Cole watched her speak, and something inside him moved deeply. It felt like a memory and a promise at the same time. He remembered the young girl under the cottonwood tree, the friend who used to race him across the sand. He remembered her laughter, her stories, and her soft voice telling him that the world was bigger than they could imagine, but kindness made it easier to travel through. That same kindness now brought peace between two groups who had almost become enemies out of fear and confusion. When the gathering ended, people from both sides offered small gestures of respect to each other. A few settlers thanked the Apache elders. The Apache families smiled softly back. Even the children peeked curiously from behind their parents, sensing the change in the air. It wasn't perfect peace yet, but it was a beginning, a good one. As the field slowly emptied, Cole and Nayeli walked together toward the river. Neither spoke for a while. The golden light of the setting sun reflected on the water, creating a path of shimmering light. The world seemed to grow quieter around them. Nayeli finally spoke first. She told Cole that she was proud of what he had done. She said that only someone with a good heart could have stood between two sides and helped them understand each other. Cole felt a quiet happiness fill his chest at her words. He told her that he couldn't have done anything without her support. She had helped him remember who he really was. They sat by the river, watching the slow movement of the water. Cole thought about his journey. He had traveled from town to town for years, never staying long enough to build a home. He believed he was meant to live alone, with only his horse and the empty roads for company. But now, he saw things differently. Being alone was not strength. Understanding, caring, and protecting others, that was real strength, and Nayeli had helped him realize that. He turned toward her and noticed a soft smile on her face. The warm evening light made her look like she belonged to the land itself. Calm, gentle, and full of life. He felt a deep gratitude for her, not just because she remembered him, but because she accepted him exactly as he was. Nayeli asked him what he planned to do next. Her voice carried curiosity but no pressure. Cole looked out over the horizon for a moment. The sky had turned shades of orange, pink, and soft purple. He took a deep breath and shared his heart honestly. He told her that he didn't want to keep drifting anymore. He wanted to stay. He wanted to help the settlers and the Apache people understand each other better, so peace could grow stronger. He wanted to use everything he had learned during his years on the road to make life easier, not just for himself but for the people around him. He said all of this quietly, but every word came from the deepest part of him. Nayeli listened closely, her eyes never leaving his face. When he finished speaking, she nodded slowly. There was a small spark of happiness in her expression. She told him that his return was not an accident. She believed the land had called him back for a reason. She believed people like him who understood both worlds were rare and needed. Cole felt warmth spread through his chest. He realized then that he wanted more than just to stay in the land. He wanted to stay close to Nayeli. His feelings for her were no longer just memories of childhood. They were real, present, and strong. He didn't know if she felt the same way, but her gentle words gave him hope. As the last light of sunset touched the river, Nayeli moved a little closer and told him something quietly. She said that she had waited for many years, believing that one day the boy she once knew would return. She didn't know when or how, but she trusted her heart. And now that he was here, she hoped he would stay. Cole felt something shift inside him, a soft, powerful feeling that told him he was exactly where he needed to be. He turned toward her and said with complete sincerity that he wasn't going anywhere. Not now. Not ever. He told her that returning to this land felt like returning to himself, and returning to her felt like returning home. They sat together as the first stars appeared in the quiet sky. The land around them seemed peaceful, almost grateful. The wind carried the soft sounds of the night, and the river whispered its endless song. Cole knew that life wouldn't always be easy here, but he would face everything with strength and hope. And with Nayeli beside him, he felt ready for whatever the future would bring. The night settled gently across the Wild West, wrapping the land in calm darkness. And in that peaceful moment, Cole understood that his journey had finally found its true ending and its true beginning.